Yeah, good morning, guys, and welcome to a new week, and welcome to today's class. Yeah, today's class we'll be taking it a bit more further, where we'll be diving deep into HTML and CSS. We will not just be learning it isolatedly, but we'll be learning a practical approach to it. So, like I made mention of, I would for every task you'll be given, just unlike your previous task, which is just for you to be creative. Every task you'll be given in CodeCamp, you'll be given a design to work with. So in respect to that, so I got this template from a popular front-end site where we front-end developer just go there, we pick up design, and we try to practice from there. So that we don't just say we know the skills and without practicing. So this is what we'll be working with in today's class. We would be designing this landing page. This is more like a simple landing page, which was built with HTML and CSS. So I got this from frontendmentors.io. So you can just decide yourself to go to frontendmentors.io and start from there. So after this class, you can also want to be, I want to practice more. I just go to frontendmentors.io, you pick up a design and you start working with it. But let's dive right into the class. So, like you all know, this is my Visual Studio Code, and I just have right from front-end mentors that they gave us this template, and they gave us some simple README file of what is going to be done. So, which I won't go through. We just dive right into it. But for you to just know, this is the color schema we'll be using. This is a color combination in CSS. This is also the font type we'll be using, the font family, and yeah, that's pretty much what we have here. And we have the design. So this is how the design looks. This is the simple design of what we'll be working with. And this is the simple design of what we will be working with. And yep, so nothing serious. So this is like a simple folder structure of how your actual folder structure should be. Like I made mention of, aside you just writing code, one thing we also teach you in CodeCamp is good coding practices. So you don't just want to be like, yeah, I'm writing the code. Everybody can write code. But what sets you apart from other developers is your ability to write good, reusable, and clean code. And when I say good, clean, reusable code, clean code simply means it starts from your folder structure. Because if your folder structure is not well aligned, things can get lost in the mix. Though you are the developer that worked on your project, but if you are giving the code base to another person, it's going to be hard for them to navigate through. So I have our index.html here, which is just a simple, the text we'll be using on our web page, which that's simply what is there. And I would create a simple, I'll create a style folder. So going forward, if you are given a task and you'll be asked to write CSS separately, because at this point we are not going to be using inline CSS or internal CSS. We'll be going straight into using external CSS fully. That is what we'll be doing. We'll be using external CSS fully. So I would create a simple file, a folder, and I'll call it styles. And right inside that style, I'll have something called style.css. Like you can also know, styles.css. As you can also know, you can also have different, it could be anything. It could be anything. And you could just, it could be anything. Just make sure that it has the prefix of the extension of style.css or the CSS behind it. So that you can name it about the CSS. But one thing you just want to know is let that file name, let it be descriptive enough. So as you all know now, this is like a style file. If I have like multiple pages on my that I'm working on, and I want to use like multiple CSS file for that, I'll simply have something called about the CSS, contacts.css, and what have you. So that's simply what I would do. But for now, we are just having a single page. So I'm going to have our HTML right here, and I'm going to have our index.html. So some of the things that are not needed here, I'm just going to clear them off. As we all know, I would explain some of what are here. So this is like a style coming from frontendmentors.io. So this is like the write-up of what we are going to need. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to cut this out and create a txt file, like a text file. So I'm just going to write write-up, write.txt, oh, tst. So it's more like a text file. So I'm writing tst as TypeScript, but you don't need to worry about TypeScript for now. So just tst, that's it simply indicate that that's a text file. So I don't have to, once we need any of those styles, we just go there, any of those text, we just go there, I lift it up from there, and I paste it. So the first thing I would do right now is I'm going to link our CSS file. So I'm going to link our CSS, and also you can see now I have like an images folder, I have an asset folder, which has an image folder in it, which has images in it, and I also have fonts. But this font, I'm not going to use this because this is not like standard practice of using fonts. So the standard practice of font that we have is, I'm going to show you why we're going. So this, if you are downloading your font package, the font you're going to be using, if you are downloading it into your project folder, it's going to make your project folder big. And what if peradventure you're now using multiple fonts, it will make your project folder so large that it will become heavy, and when you're trying to deploy it to a web page, to a web server, it's going to drag and it's going to consume a lot of time while it's loading. So those are some of the things we do to optimize your web app, your website or web app or what have you. So sometimes some of the things you just have to do is, you don't have to have some of the things you need except for your images, which are something that you are going to be using. Like if you want to have your fonts, your icons, and some other things which you'll talk about as you're going on in the course, you wouldn't want to have them downloaded into your project folder. You use something called a CDN, which is simply a content delivery network. So if you have a CDN, that's simply a content delivery network, it makes it much easier for you to just, let's say, just input the link into your project, and what you need to do is already live. So let's continue. So I'm going to delete this project folder, and yep. So all we have is just an image, and we have our design and all. So, okay, thank you very much, IK. IK has actually dropped the template file to what I'm going to be using. It has dropped it on the channel, on the chat box. So you can also look at it. And if you want to code along, it's going to be a very good way for you to code along. But I might be fast, so you can also just go after the class and try to follow it at your own pace. So the first thing I'm going to do is have a link. I'm going to have a link, which is real. Relation, it simply stands for a short form for relationship, which is going to be style sheet, and I'm going to have an href. So I'm going to have a dot slash. That dot slash simply means I'm taking one step out of this file. I'm taking one step into my style.css, and I have another slash. Then I have my style.css. So this should work perfectly well. So before we go, just to be sure that we have something running, I'm going to have like, let me just go back. Let's go. I have live server installed already. So that's why I can click on live server, and you can see we have our browser. We have what is in our code right on the screen. So this is simply what we have, but let me just add an h1 here. Let me have an h1 here and just write omelette. So let's save and see. You would see that we have omelette, and you can see I've not done all those. I've not done a global reset and the likes, but it is, we'll get there. So the first thing we are going to do now is to write all our HTML code to be sure that we have something to move forward with before we start diving into CSS. So let's go right in. So if you have any question, just raise up your hand and you can drop a message in your chat box. So I'll be using a mix of both. I'm going to be using a mix of semantic HTML and non-semantic HTML, so you can also have a feel of how it's done. So I made mention of it that in some cases you need semantic HTML for SEO optimization and the likes in the first class. So, but this is just like a practical project, a simple basic project that we are not hosting. We are just trying to gain one or two learning from it. So I'll be using a mix of both of them so you can understand. Like, so see right here, we have a div, which is a non-semantic tag. So I'm going to have a name right here. I'm going to have our main right there. Yeah, let's continue. I have a main, which is, sorry, you can see some, I'm not actually sorry. You can see some suggestions popping up on my screen. Yeah, I use some of the AI tools. It's not to make me dumb, but it's to make my work faster. But I'm not going to use that. I'm going to actually add code everything one after the other so we can get a feel of it. So the first thing we'll have, according to our design, is a simple image. Then this is what we'll be going with. So let's go right there. So the first thing is our image, IG. We have slash and we have src dot slash, go into the asset folder, and we have a slash again. We have the images, then we have the omelette image. Then also I made mention of something that you should always add an alt alternative text to your image, simply because along the line, your image, you might spell it wrongly or it's just broken at some point. And also for screen readers, so that they can know that there's an image here. A screen reader is going to know that it's an image here, but you don't have to give a random name of just image. You have to be descriptive enough. I have worked with a senior developer who is always cautious about minor things like this. This is what makes you actually stand out as a developer. So all these minor details, they say developers pay attention to details. It's not about you building the world's most beautiful website. That's what makes you attentive to details. Things that are behind the scene are what makes you attentive to details. So something like alt text, you might look at it that is not simply necessary, but it is when I say it is very, very necessary and key for screen readers, and something called OAuth standard for web accessibility for visually impaired people. So that is the standard we are following, and you also have to abide by that standard. So if I give you a task and it also includes an image and you're not adding the alt text, and the text you're adding to your alt text is not meaningful enough, it's going to reduce your mark. So that's simply it. So I'm going to have omelette image. So a screen reader would simply know that this is an omelette image. And yeah, so the next thing we have is we have our H1. And so I would not want to stress myself of trying to type them out. So that's why I just have to go to this page and copy and paste them one after the other. So most time, just for fast pace, because we are time constrained, I will just have to copy and paste here and there. So that is what we have. So the next thing is we have a p tag, and I'm going to give it a class of, also I'm just going to give it a class of MB. So your class can be simply anything, but I just like short class name. So I know just go right back to our text and I copy this. And yeah, at any point, I know HTML might not give you any struggle that much, so you might not have any question. But if you still do have any question, kindly let me know. So we have a div. So I have a div, I have a class. So I would make reference to this image at intervals. So I would know what I'm doing. So I have preparation time. Okay. I have preparation time and I have preparation. So I have that. So the first thing I have is an H3, which is going to be a text. I have preparation time. So next one is I have a UL, which is a list, and I have an LI. So for my LI, what do I have? I just have this. Let me just copy all this and paste it somewhere here so I don't have to do some back and forth. So I have an LI of, let me be sure of how it looks like. It's an unordered list. So we have LI and I have a span. I'm going to use, because if you can notice, you would see that our text, some of the text are quite bolder apart from the others. So I have total, this, and for the other ones, I just have approximately 10 minutes. Let me just cut this and paste this right here. So the next one, I just duplicate the line. So which is Shift Alt down. I have preparation. I have preparation right here. I have 5 minutes. I have cooking. 5 minutes. So, and that's that about that section. So let me clear up this piece. So sometimes it's just good that all your unused space should be cleared up, and so you can have a feel of, you don't have like too many light spaces on your screen. So the next one I have on our design, it's more like, the next one I have, it's the ingredients. So we have ingredients that will be used. So ingredients. So I have an H2, which is going to be ingredients. Let me copy it again. So this is going to be ingredients. Control X. Just paste this right here. I have a class name. Give it a class of MB. So you can see I also made mention of something in the previous class saying that if you know that a class will be reused over and over again, so it's just more like giving it a simple class name and you can use it at any point. I can also do this for a div, but it's just like the unconventional rule that has been written by senior developers before us saying that, okay, if you are going to reuse a class, if a class is going to be used in if an element is going to be used in if a star rather, if a star is going to be used in multiple places, just use a class to define it. So you know that, okay, this is a class and it's going to be used over and over again. So I have the ID, I have a URL also, which is going to be a class of MB, and I would give it an LI. So they are going to be list items. So let me copy also some of this. Yeah, let me just cut this and paste it right here, up here. So I can just copy them one after the other. So I have this. So I have salt to taste. I think this would also help some of the guys in the class who don't know how to make omelette to go and make some experiments after the class. So we are teaching you how to write code and also teaching the guys how to cook. And I want to believe that all the ladies in the class here can cook. But if you can't, this is also a practical lesson for you to go and try out. So let's continue. And for the last one, we just have optional. So yeah, so let's just save and see what we have on the screen to be sure that. So let's just see that, let's say this and check what we have. So we just have this. This looks more like, why is this side by side? Why does this look side by side? ULLI. Why does it look side by side? Why is this not supposed to be side by side, actually? ULLI. Oh, who can tell me where the issue is coming from? Can anyone just look? Can anyone just look at our code and tell me where the error is coming from? Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Joshua. I did L1 instead of LI. So those are some of the minor details you just have to pay attention to. So thank you, Joshua. So we just have to change this to LI. So that it happens a lot of times. So you don't have to beat yourself up when you have those kind of issues. It's one of those things that is inevitable when you're writing code. Bug is inevitable. So don't be scared of facing bugs. But some bug might face you and you won't be able to solve it in a few days. So let's check and see, okay, yeah, we are back on track. So the next thing we'll have next is we have our instructions. We have our instructions. We have our instructions. So let's close this up. So we have our H2, and we have a class of MB, class MB, and we have instructions. So let's go back to our text. Instruction. So here we are going to use ordered list, so that since they are going to be following one step or the other, but regardless, you can still use an ordered list for it. So and we just restyle it in. We can just restyle it in CSS. So UL, we have OL rather. Sorry, we have OL, and we have LI. Give it also a class of MB. MB. We have LI, and the first one is, let me copy this also. Let me copy this out so I don't have to be doing some back and forth. This looks like a long list. Copy this and paste this right here, just right above here. So I have a span, simply as I did before, span. And I'll just do this, Control X, paste it right in between here. So, sorry, are we all following? I want to be sure. Are we all following? LI. I have a span also. And I have hit the pancake. Hit the pan rather. Control X. So continue. The next one is this. So I just duplicate the line, just cut right here. Control V. Yeah, let's cut this also. Place it right here. So, I have this. I have this also. Okay, so just to be sure that everything are in line, so Control X, and yeah, we just one step away. So the last line, we have enjoy and serve hot. So those of you that are following my cooking steps, make sure you come and pay for tutorial for more cooking tips. I'm not just a coding teacher alone. I'm also a very good outsec, so I can see. So let me highlight this properly. So let me just highlight this properly. So my code are readable. So let me just do this. So I'm going to give it a break in between right here. So for readability sake, that's why I'm trying to do this. I'm supposed to have like an extension that's supposed to help me do this, but I don't know why it's not working. I don't know why the extension is not working actually, but I do have an extension that is supposed to do all this for me, but it seems not to work at this point in time. But regardless, we continue. So I think the last thing we have is going to be our nutrition table. Let me be sure. Let me be sure that it's our nutrition table that is left. So, okay, it's our nutrition table. So let's check the design and be sure. We have, okay, our nutrition table, that's what is next. So, before our instruction, we had something. For our instruction, we had a line. We had a line before our instruction. So let's add that line. So I was actually moving that out. So we have, so to draw a line in HTML, we just do something called HR. And I give it a class of MB. So that gives us a simple line above right there. So let's clear up this space. Let's clear up this space. So the next thing we have is we have instructions. We have nutrition. So from our nutrition, we also have a straight line. So let's continue. So we have HR. So I just used that. So we have nutrition. So I have H2, which is also going to be a class of MB, and I have nutrition right there. So let me go to our text. I have nutrition, just cut this out. And what else do we have? So can you use Ctrl Z? Well, for me, I don't know, my prettier is not actually working to Zoom user. I have mentioned this times down number that once you are joining the class, make your name, your actual name. I don't have to be calling Zoom user. I don't know who is Zoom user. I don't know who is Zoom user. So please, that person that is bearing Zoom user should simply just change their name. So let's continue. So I have nutrition, and I would have a p tag, which has a class name of MB, and I would copy this text. I'll copy our text from our right up right here. So just something to, I would check on my prettier to know why it's not working. So hopefully before the next class, I fix that. But now I can start trying to figure that out. So I have a table, I have a class of MB, class of MB, and I have my body, table body. So I have our TR, which is going to be, so let's check what we have. So let's just cut all this out, Control X, just paste it up here. So we have CR, we have TD, we have, I give it a class name of nutrition name, class name, nutrition dash name. So I give it the first name, calories, Control C, paste is right, Control X rather. So I don't have to deal with deleting over again. So I have another, let me just duplicate this, and I have nutrition value, VALUE. So I have 27 CS calories, 277 calories. So I just duplicated this 3 times. 2, 3. So I have crabs, which comes right here. I have 0 gram, which is right here. I have protein, which is right here. And I have 20 gram, which is right here. And I have this. I have fat. And I have 22 gram. So let's check what we have. And yep, we are eating it off one by one. So this is what we have, and we have completed writing our HTML already. So can we move into writing our CSS? So I'm actually going to write some CSS style, which I would just want you to just look at it and not think so much about it. And when we get into those aspects of it, so does this, what with the HTML I've written, do you guys understand? Is it straightforward? Do you guys understand what I did? Hope it's not that it's looking like magic to you guys. I need response. Does anyone have any question? Pretty straightforward. Very good. I like that. I have very smart students in class. Yeah. So let's move on to our CSS. So I'm just going to save this, and all this, I don't need all this again. So what I'm just going to do, so I don't have to be doing some back and forth into my HTML page, I'm going to duplicate my screen. I'm going to duplicate my screen, like I'm going to split my Visual Studio Code into 2, and I'm going to have my style sheets on the right, on the left, and my HTML on the right, so I can pick on my class names one after the other. So let's get into it. Sorry, who is that? Who unmuted? Sunny, what's the issue? All right, I guess that's much. So let's continue. So the first thing I have right here is, like I made mention of, no. First thing I have right here is, like I made mention of, is do something called global reset. So it's going to be margin 0, margin 0, margin 0, padding 0, box sizing, border box. So let's save this and go back to our browser. As you can all see, all the styles that are there have been removed. So I made mention of something that about using fonts, different kind of fonts. So we have two fonts that we'll be using in this project. Which one is Outfit, Young Outfit, and Young Sheriff. So all the fonts you would probably need, if they are not custom fonts, you can just go to a website called fonts.google.com, fonts.google.com, and you can select the font that you want. So for the fonts we'll be using, they are Outfit and Young Sheriff. So I have Outfit. I would select the font. So I get the font. So also, no, I don't need this. So I'm also going to search for another font, which is the other font to be using is Young Sheriff. So those are the two fonts we'll be using. So I just need to get those fonts, and the next thing you just click on is Get Embedded Code. And once you click on Get Embedded Code, you will see two options right here. You will see two options right here, which is the web, which is the link, and they will ask you to input it in the head of your HTML. So most times we try to just do some things that we just have to do some things that no, we want to, since it's a style, we just want it to be a style. Since fonts are not based on our structure, we are kind of changing some things. So we'll make that strictly into our CSS. So just click on import and copy the text right here. Just copy this text without the style around it, and just copy it and paste it at the topmost part of your HTML, of your style sheet. That is before your global reset. So once you paste that right here, and yeah, you have simply imputed the font that we will be using into our website. So all what you just need to do is just call the particular font that we're going to be using, and we are good to go. Do we understand how I got our font? Do we understand how I got our font? I need response. Do we understand how I got? Okay. So I said, when you want to make use of a font in HTML, when you're trying to style your website using a particular kind of font, because every website, every design you'll be giving is not the same kind of font you'll be using. Your designer can decide to be, oh, I want to be more creative at this point in time. I want to use a different kind of font. So what you simply have to do is, you don't have to download the font to your system. What you just need to do is you use something called a CDN, which is called Content Delivery Network. So what you just have to do is go to font.google.com, select the font that you want. So I have selected Outfit and Young Sheriff, and I clicked on this side, this selected font, and I have download all to, and I have get embedded code. I don't need to download it, because one of the major reasons I would not download it is simply because if you want to host this website on a platform, those fonts could actually make your website add additional sites. So it's always preferable, and it's always preferable that I use a CDN, which is you just copying the link and pasting it into your code. So another benefit of using a CDN is simply because if there is an update to this particular font, probably when they were building the font, they just had styles of 1 to 500. That's 100, 200, 300 of font width of 100, 200, 300, 400, or 500, and they want to add more to it. they would add more to it, and it automatically updates. It automatically updates your website. You don't have to start going back again to go and be downloading the font into your project. So with the help of CDN, automatically, if there is a new release, it automatically synchronizes with your project. So that's why I made mention of using the best approach is using a CDN. So, and also I made mention that you will see two options, which is you embedding the code into your HTML. And after you embedding the code into your HTML, you can decide, oh, and I made mention of something that you can embed it into your HTML. But for me, I have a personal preference of doing something called separation of concern. I know that styling are not part of HTML. They are basically CSS in nature. So what I simply do is I go to import and I copy this import. Once I just copy this import, I go to my style.css, and I paste it at the topmost part before writing any code. That's the first thing you just have to do. You do what? You import your style.css and you import your font, and you are good to go. Before you do your global reset, you import it before your global reset. Do we all understand now? Daniel and I think Bola, you were the both people that mentioned that you don't understand. Hope you guys understand now. Bola, I'm waiting for you. All right, so let's continue. So I'm going to have a simple, so I'm going to style my body. So the first thing I'm going to style is the body. So I'm going to give it body, DY, body. I'm going to give it a background color. So you can see we have more like a background color on our design, which is more like an omelette sort of, a kind of orange, will I say orange or kind of yellow somehow, but I don't know the color. So let's continue. So I have a background color of, we have our background color right here. So let's go to our template preview. So the colors I'll be using, they have been predefined for us. I think it is style guide. In our style guide, we have our color. So I'll be using this. I'll just copy this. Later on, I think I'll show you other ways of doing something called reusable CSS classes. But so I don't bombard you with a lot of things. That's why I'm just going to do this. I'm going to be coming right here to be copying them and pasting them one after the other. Any color I need, I would come and check it out. Okay, so this is going to be our background color. So let's check and see what we have. So we can see that we have our background color already. Our background has actually changed. So let me comment this out. I think we had a white background before. Yeah, we had a white background before, but with adding our background color, it changed. So I'm going to give it, and I'm going to define an height of 100%. I'm also going to give it a display of flex. So don't worry about display. What is display flex? The next topic we'll be going to is CSS layout, and I'll be talking extensively more on that in the next class. So there's, like I made mention of it in the previous class, you would there are some things I will touch on, and I'll tell you we need it in the next class in some further lectures. So don't try to ask me a question yet on flex, because by the next class, which is on Wednesday, we would be going into CSS layout, and one of our topics is going to be flexbox. So we have flex. We have flex. So the next thing I will do is I'll do something called justify content center. I would have a line item center. Then I would give it a font family. So I'll give it a font family of our general body font family is going to be outfit. Font family is going to be outfit. Sorry, it has to be in capital letter. outfit, and something called sans serif. So I would I will tell you why we have to have a fallback font. So on every browser, there is always a font that comes with your browser. If you go to your Google Chrome now and you go to your settings and you check out the fonts that are there, you see some fonts that are that comes automatically with your browser. And one of those fonts is sans serif. So we are using a custom font right here. So the custom font we are simply using is outfit. So if peradventure your user is actually currently using your website, and at a particular point they don't have access to the internet and they have opened up your browser, they have opened up your website, instead of them not having access to the font, to the kind of font that you're using, this sans serif is going to be the fallback font that the browser would automatically pick up and be like, oh, use this font instead. So that's simply what we do. Like that's like a standard practice of what we do. So so let's continue. I have started our body and let's see what we have. Let's check and see. So you can see it looks extremely different. So I'm just going to remove something from our code. I'm just going to remove this last line because it is more like making it go to the side. And I don't want to go into Flexbox. So let's style our main. So we have main. I give it a width of 42%. So all this, just know that I have tried this over and over again, and I just kind of experiment. How did I add a comment on one click? What I just did a control A and I did a control slash. That's what I did to add a comment on that line. So I did a control slash. Add a width, and I'm going to have a border radius. I'm going to have a border radius because, as you can see, our image right here, the design we are working with has a white background. It has a curved edge, and that curved edge simply stands as border radius, basically. So let's continue. We have border dash radius, which is I'm going to use a rem. I'm just going to give it 2 rem. So let's see what we have. As you can see, our image is actually pushing this to the right hand side, and we are still going to style our image. So let's continue. So 2 rem would have a background color of white. Let's go to our style guide once again. To pick our background color. So we have a background color of white. So I'm going to pick this from here, and I'm going to paste this right here. So the next thing I would have is a padding. Like I made mention, a padding is a space in between an element. So a padding, I don't think I explained padding in the last class. So let's take our compound. We all stay in a house, and there are walkways around the house, probably to the side, to the left, to the right, to the left, to the back, and to the front of the house. So the first thing you have to do is, once you are talking about margin is a space outside of an element. So I don't know, if your compound has a fence, every space outside of that your fence is called a margin, while every space within your fence is called a padding. So those padding will serve like a walkway. Okay, you want to go to the back of the house. You don't have to climb to the top of the roof to get to the back of the house. You just walk to the right-hand side and you get to the back, and you can walk around the house. That is what a padding is. A padding is the space inside of an element, within an element, while margin is a space outside of an element. Do you understand the explanation I gave for margin and padding? All right, so let's continue. So I have a margin. Let me give, all right, so people are getting it. Wow, that's nice. Good. I'm communicating in a very good language. Yeah, awesome. So I'm just going to give it 2 rem, 2.1 rem, and I'm going to give it 2.5 rem. So this is just more like a shortcut. I'm giving top and bottom. So this is more like a shortcut for me. I don't want to give it margin top 2.1 rem, margin bottom 2.1 rem, margin left 2.5 rem, margin right 2.5 rem. So in Visual Studio Code, we have something called, if you define a padding and I do something like 2.1 rem, that simply defines the top and the bottom. While this second 2.5 rem, what it simply does is defines the left and the right. That's simply what this means. So the border is like a fence. Yeah. Thank you very much. Temitope rather. For yeah, the border is just like a fence around your house. So you're trying to use that border to separate something. Yeah. Thank you very much for that, Temitayo. So let's continue. So I have a padding and I have a margin. I'm also going to just give it a margin of 4 rem, 4.5 rem, and 0. So let's save and see what we have. So as you can see, we have this already, and it's already coming to life. But as you can see, our image is still making us have an extended stretch to the right. So what we have to do, we just have to style our image immediately. So we have our IMG, we have width of 100%, and we have border radius of 0.75 rem. So let's save and see what we have. So yeah, as you can see, we are already coming alive with what we have. So can you all see, just with giving our image a width of 100%, it fits into what we want. And yes, we are getting close to our design, basically. So let's continue. I think, yeah, we are going pretty well and we should be done in some few minutes. So we have started our image. So the next thing we want to start is our H1. We have our H1. We give it a font family. Our font family for this is going to be Young Sheriff. Young Sheriff. Young Sheriff. Young Sheriff. Let me be sure. Okay, it has to be in capital letter. Young Sheriff. And we have a fallback also of sans serif. So see that, and we give it a font weight of 400. Font weight, so 400. And let's see what we have. So it gives us what we want. So we just have to give it like a margin to the top, and let's see. Let me just give this. Let me just do something. Let me give this a flex. Let me give this a flex. Let me give it a display flex. Flex. I'm going to give it flex direction. Flex direction column, and I'll give it a gap. So when we get into Flexbox, I would explain this one better. So let's see. So I don't want to start giving it a margin. I don't want to give it margin here and there. So this is just like a simple shortcut for me to just give it a margin. How did I come about the size figure you're using for the padding? No, well, Alan, all this, let's check our README file. Let's see. There's our style guide. See our style guide. As you can see, we have our font weight of 400, and for the margin and padding, it's just based on discretion. So before I came to this class, I've actually worked on this. I did like, okay, to know the perfect fit, because since I don't have those dimensions myself, I just had to look for something that is perfect. So I am just using discretion, based on high discretion, looking at the design. But if I give you a Figma design, which gives you access to those stuff, you'll be able to know you'll be able to know the margin you'll be using, the width you'll be using, and all. So that's it. But this, what I'm doing, is just based on discretion. Yeah, like I said, it sometimes as you grow as a developer, you have some high discretion which you can work with. So that's what I am simply doing right here. All right, so let's continue. We have our H1, and the next thing we have is we now want to style our H3. So let's style our H3, and we have our color. And let's go to our style guide. And yeah, for our colors, we have where we start, we have this rose gold. So for this, I don't have to be intuitive about it. I just go to our design. I just go to our what's the name? Our design, and you would see all those our H3 elements. They are kind of red, but it's not red. So let's put this side by side so we can continue. So let's save and see. So I'm so sorry to take us back. What does the span do? Okay, what I simply did with that span was to be able to style a particular element twice. So I want to give that span a different class name. A span is just like an element. It's just like a simple element that we have. But if you look at our design, you see that those places I use those span elements for, they are kind of bold, and the other text that is in front of them are not bold. So that's simply what I want to do. And you will see the usefulness of that span when I style them in the design, in the CSS part of things. So just work with me. Work with me. So our H3 element is this. And yeah, so let's continue. So we have our, let's go back here. We have our H3, which is coming. Let me be sure where we are styling. Come up. Okay, we are starting our preparation time. So, which is this H3. So let's now style our HR. No, let's style our HR. So the HR tag that we have. So we're going to give that also a border, which is going to be 1 pixel solid LID, solid, and I have a color of this H30. Let's be sure of the color we are using. So that's going to be like let's use tone 150. Yep, let's just use tone 150 for that. Let's use tone 150. Let's copy this and paste it right here. So we continue. So we have started our HR. So we are going to start our P tag. So let's start that also. And we have our color of, let's come back right here. We have this. So I just give this tone 600. So that's based on the colors we have on our design. So it might look a little thin, but I've zoomed in into it to see those colors properly. So now let's now style our preparation div dot preparation. Preparation, I think I spelled it wrongly, but regardless, let me just copy this. So sometimes, so you are sure that you are not making some typo errors. Let's just, so I think I didn't spell preparation correctly. So let me just copy this from right here and just edit, and let me just edit it properly. So, but I want you to know that I'm going to change it from capital letter to small letter. So this should be a small p, and also let me change this right here. Let me change this right here also to a small p, because CSS is actually very case sensitive. So we have our background color. We have our background. CSS is very case sensitive. The style guide is okay. Fernandez have answered you already. So we have this. So what is the color we are using? We are using a okay, we are using this. This is the color we are using. So as you can see, most of the style guide, like I made mention, is going to be coming from your UI UX designer. So you don't have to worry yourself. As for this, Frontend mentors.io will definitely give you the style that you'll be using for this. So you don't have to worry. Margin. So I don't need to give it a margin again. I just give it a padding. Give it a padding of 0.313 rem. I would also give it a 1.68 rem. So, and also I would give this a border radius of 0.75 rem. So let's save and see. So as you can see, this is actually coming along, but I can see that padding that I added to the top and bottom is not okay. So I give this like a 1 rem. So let's see. So you can see sometimes you just have to experiment here and there to be sure that, oh, what I am doing is perfect. So as you can see, I just added a little bit of more padding to it. So I gave this a margin. I'm going to, let me give, let me style this a bit. Let me style this a bit. Let me give this a flex. So sometimes direction, display flex, I give it a flex direction of column, and give it a gap of 1 rem. So this gives it a little bit of breathing space. So everything are not, let me give it 0.7 rem, 0.6 rem. So everything are not just modded up right there. Okay. So the next one I'm going to style now is UL. UL. So let me come back to the next line. UL. And I'm just going to give this a padding. So a padding of 0.6 rem, 0.4 rem, and I'm going to give it a list style. So this was what I was saying, that you can actually change your this thing, your styling from your list from a UL to an LI. So I'm just going to try the different ones we have right here. So I'm going to change this list style to a Dix element to a square. So let's see what we have. So you can see it moved from a dotted round to a Dix element to a square. Sunny, I would explain if rem is better than pixel when we get into a topic, because I made mention of it in the last class, saying that we have a topic, we have the topic, um, we have a topic called CSS measurements. So with those CSS measurements, you would know which which one is very which one is very cumulative for you to use, so that by the time we get into something called that CSS measurement is CSS comes with responsiveness. So when we get into responsiveness, I'll definitely talk about those measurements so that you can know which one you are going to use above the other. So Sani, just take note of that. So let's continue styling. And we are already reaching our time is already going, so we have to run at a speed. So let's continue. I just did this, so I'm just going to change it from a square to a dix. So, and we can also change it to general. So let's set it to this and see what it looks like. So you can see the way it looks like. So you can just change your list style to anything. So I'm just going to change this to a dix. And yeah, let's continue. We have our UL and LI. So we have a padding of 0.3 rem, and I also have 0.9 rem. So let's check and see what we have. Let's check and see what we have. So yeah, it's giving us a lot of space. So let's now style our span. Let's just style our span. So I give it a font weight of 500. So we are making it bold, and we don't want every other text around it to be bold. That's simply what this does. So we have to give it a space. So let's go back here and just give it like a space, so that it's like a brilliant space between both of them, not just that everything are all in each other. So as you can see, it gives us what we want. And yep, I think that's what we have. So let's continue. So we're going to style our H2 next, which is this part. So we have H2, H2, font family. So now you can see something, we would have some kind of similar styles. So our H2 also has more like our H2 also has some similar class to our H1. So we just do something called right here, we just write our H2. And yeah, so with the font family and the font width are actually similar. So the only thing we'll be defining right here is the color. So we have, let's check our style guide and see. We have this, we have our brown, which is the other color for this. And yep, let's paste this here and see what we have. So that should H2, why is our H2 not styled? I'm trying to see ingredients. Oh, you give it a class of MB, so it's not going to affect it. So let's see what we have according to our design. Coming, let me do this. .mb H2, let's see. So I'm trying to, why is our ingredients not being styled? Why is our ingredients not being styled? H2. So we have H2. H2. So let me remove this class of MB in front of it and be sure and be sure. So let me also remove it from right here. So let's see and see. Okay, so this works. It was just more like a styling issue for me. So let's continue. So let's continue from where we are right here, and this is more like it. So we have started our H2. So the next thing we are going to be doing now is we don't necessarily have to style this also, do we? Our instructions, they look okay. So come in. Our instructions, they look okay. Our ingredient looks perfectly okay. So we are going to move to our instructions now. So who is unmuting? We have a policy in this class that once you want to speak, just raise up your hand, you will be called upon. So please, let's take note of that. So let's continue. So we are going to be starting our instruction next. So let's OL. So let's call on our OL, LI. Give it a padding of 0.48 rem, and we give it a 0.78 rem. We have a font line height. So this is another style in CSS, line height of 1.375 rem. And we also have a color. So you would see that the color is different from the others. The color is what? So let's check and see. The color is this. So let's check out our colors. HSL 14. So it's also this color. So let's copy this. Color is right stone 600. And yeah, so let's copy this. Control C and just paste it right here. So let's see and be sure we are making sense of it. Yep. And let's continue. So I'm just going to go back to our HTML right here and give this some little space in between. I'm going to give this a little space in between. I could do it from our CSS, but that's going to be like an overkill. So just do this directly from your HTML so you don't have a lot of styles. So let's continue our OLI. So this is another way of styling OL. OL, LI, marker. So this is like styling. This is like styling the markers. That's the 1 to 3. I'll give it a font bold, font width of 500. So make it more bold. So this is what we're actually styling. These markers that are right here. And yep. So the next thing we are styling is our table elements. So let's check what we have. Our nutritions are good. So we are just styling the table itself and the nutritional value. So we just have dot nutritional name. So let's just copy this. Let's copy this. Control C and paste it right here. So you have to put our dot in front of it. And yeah, what are we styling is we change color. So what's going to be the color? The color is simply going to be okay. That's going to be this. It's going to be the color. So we save and see. So we then have nutritional value. We're also going to give nutritional value. So let's start the nutritional value also. Nutritional value. And we are going to give it a different color, which is this, which is a deep brown. So let's paste this right here. So let's give this a font weight of 600 because that's quite bold. And yep, I think let's see what we have. Let's see what we have. Does this look okay? So there's still like a straight line that is left out. So let's style that. So we give this CD a margin bottom, a border bottom of 1 pixel solid, 1 pixel solid. What's the color? This brown. So let's copy this, paste it right here. So, and I give it a height of probably just 3 rem. And I also give it a width, so the extended width. So before I give it the width, let me see what we have to be sure. So this is not looking like what we have. So it's more like it's breaking. Let me be sure. More like it's breaking on both lines. But give it a width of 19, or let me get 18 rem and see what we have. So that should span properly. That looks okay, but our colors are not aligning well. So let me change the color and see. If that's not the color we are supposed to have. So let's go to our style again. Okay, let's try this. Let's try the second color. Should be like deep print, not so bold as that. So let's try this out and see. Let's see if, yes. So I think we have come to the end of our styling basically. So can we look at what we styled and point out if there are any, there are going to be a lot of differences basically because we didn't get the actual styles, more like the width. I just used my initiative for this to get, but if we look at it, we'll see that it's very, very close to what we have. And yes, this is simply how you just style your HTML and CSS, and you are good to go. So if we want to work on this, like if I give you a task and say, okay, if I just give you this, a design, you just have to check through it and see which style is similar, and you just have to work with it. So do we understand what I did? Are there any questions? I know there will probably be a lot of questions. Yeah, so Messi, go ahead. You have a question. Go ahead, Messi.
Yes, thank you. So,
Yeah.
concerning the CSS number, you only told us about the fonts.google.com. That's about the font side, but you didn't tell us like how to get the numbers for the colors on CSS.
What do you mean by colors from CSS?
Like when you place the color on CSS, like the number, like hashtag, then the number on it.
Oh, I made mention of those colors. I'm not the one that set those colors, basically. They were the colors given to us from frontendmentor.io. So you can see these are the colors. I am not the one that, I didn't get the color from anywhere. It was once you download, I think IK's dropped the starter file of this project, like the link to this project, or where I got it from. you see, these are the colors we are using. It's not me that define the colors. So I just copy the colors from here and I used them. Do you understand, Messi?
Yes, but not just this one in person, like other ones, like other colors. Not just this. That's what I'm saying.
I did those all the colors I used were from this place. All the colors I used were from here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
didn't use any other color aside from the colors that are here.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So Kelvin, your hand is raised. Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, sir. Good morning,
Yeah,
everyone.
good morning.
Yeah. So, sir, I could remember one time where you mentioned about how we need to structure our what is it called? When we are building our code, there's a standardized way of structuring our folders. So, I
Yeah,
want to ask this particular task that we just did this morning. Now, the way you
yeah,
structured it, your assets, your CSS folder,
yeah.
and then your yeah, I want to know if this is the standard way or you
But this
just
is the standard way.
okay. So
Yeah,
I did something like this because I followed I the last task that I was given, I followed a particular YouTube channel to actually get more insight. So I not I what they did is under their assets folder they built both the style folder and the image folder
together.
in the assets. Yeah, so when I did that on my code sandbox, my image was breaking. It was not reflective. So I had to make my image folder a standalone before it was reflective. So I
Yeah,
want to know is it okay?
I know why your image you were actually breaking. You were not targeting it properly because I think you were doing something like dot slash image. But if you were actually using, if you wanted it to be in your asset folder, you do something like dot slash asset slash image, then that particular image, then you will get the actual image.
Okay, sir.
Kelvin, yeah.
Yes, sir.
So try
Thank
that
you, sir.
out. Try that out, and you see you get it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah. So Victor, go ahead. Your hand is raised. Victor.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning.
Yeah. I want to know how can we get the link to this particular project you worked on?
I think if you check the chat box,
It's not
IK
there.
dropped it. You joined the class late.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because I know IK dropped the link around 14 minutes after 10. That was when I started. So I'm going to drop the link again. So
Okay,
just
thank
check
you,
the
sir.
chat box and you will see the link there.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, I've dropped it. All right. So Daniel, your hand is raised.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Daniel.
Sir, why is your index.html standing alone? Right? It's directly inside the recipe hyphen page hyphen main
Yeah,
folder. Why is it
that's
standing alone? So what if you
why
have,
is it not inside the
several
folder,
other,
right?
yes, what if you have several other index.html files that you need to
So
work on? You'll all be in, one single.
no. You don't do that like that. So it is actually advised that the entry part to your website to be outside should be like standalone. So like the way the entry point to our website now is this index.html. So it is exposed. It is standalone. So now if we have other pages, I would now have to create a folder like this and call it pages. And I have a file. I'm going to have like about.html right inside it. I'm going to have contact.html. Like so that you don't confuse yourself. It is just advisable that you have just one index.html on your projects. So every other one can now fall in line to the kind of page So your home page basically is going to be your index.html. So every other page that you're going to be working on can now be okay, the name of the page you're going to be working with. Do you understand, Daniel?
Yes, I do understand. So what I'm
Yeah,
saying is there are several other projects that we're going to have as this in the course of this
yeah,
training because we'll still have other indexes. I don't know if you understand what I mean. For
yeah.
example, if I'm supposed to start coding another page, it's going to start with initially index.html. You understand?
No.
So you have
I
more.
think you're not getting it. So now, if you have one index, yeah, just for every project you are going to be working on, you will have just one index.html file. Then you now have other pages, more like you want to write your own page or every other page. What you simply just have to do is create a page folder and call it that particular name of that page. Don't call it index.html because you will get confused. If you have multiple index.html, you have an index.html here, you have another index.html. Is actually you're going to get confused when you are working on it yourself. And by the time you're going to be hosting it on a server, you would you will get your server would know which particular one is the entry point. That is why it's said it's more like and also an unwritten rule that the index.html is the entry file of your website. So even if you check frameworks such as React, you would see that the entry point of the web app itself is an index.html page. I don't have a React. Okay, let me open a React project on my. I'm coming just a second. Let me open a React project. Sorry, just a second. Let me open a React project for you to see. I'm coming. So this is a React project. So don't divert your attention actually. So, but see the entry point of the website. You can see that the entry point of the website is an index.html. This is actually what is loading all your web page, and I have different pages which are not even HTML pages. So this is what is actually loading my website, basically, not my other pages. This is the entry point to my website. So if I host this on a server, this is the page it's actually looking for, not my other pages. So do you understand now, Daniel?
Yes, I understand you. But
All right.
what I was trying to say is not like another index.html in this same folder. For example,
Okay.
if you are to build another website where we have to display cars on that website, in
When you
this same
display,
VS, cars, like for example, cars, not this time around, it's not food. Do you
okay.
understand me, sir? I'm talking about a totally different website, not this recipe page main. If you give us like an assignment to go and do something different from this, we're going to have another index in that same page on VS Code,
Yes.
not in this. That's what I'm saying. So that
Yeah.
means if I
For every
saw this
project you'll be
correctly,
creating, you would have to have a
yes.
new index.html file. I don't know if
So
I'm
now
getting
this
you.
your index is inside recipe page dot hyphen main.
This my
That
index is simply inside my folder. It's just
yes, sir. That's
inside
what I'm
my
saying. It's directly
folder.
inside recipe.
Yes, it's inside directly inside the folder,
Mm-hmm.
not inside
Yes, sir.
inside
Yes,
the
sir.
other folder.
Yes.
So,
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Yes.
all right. So Henry Momo, go ahead. Oh, sorry, I said Henry. Sorry, Henry, go ahead.
No problem, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
So my question is, you talked about, I just want to ask, like, when you were writing your code, I saw you wrote main and body. So I want to know, is there like any difference between the main and body? Though I know
Yes,
you said something about
yeah, there's a
helps with
difference.
SEO or
Yeah, there's a difference between main and body. So your body is more like if you check out your index.html, for every HTML code you'll be writing, every code goes into the body. Every code you'll be writing goes into your body element. So you can see all our code are wrapped inside the body element. The body element is just like a bigger container that is holding everything. It's just like the foundation. So, and the main is like the tag that I defined to hold my particular. So there are two different things entirely. There are two different elements entirely. I can decide not to style my body elements and put all my styles on my main. I can do that. But in some cases whereby I have multiple sections, if I put, like you can see for our body element, all the styles I added here is like a general style which is going to be applied to the website. So you can see our background color now. This is the body. This background we added, this is it on the body element right there. So this is more like the body is the foundation which the main is built upon. I don't know if you understand, Aaron.
Yeah, so this other let's say off-white background is the main, or this white
Yes,
is the body.
yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
So let me see if I have some questions in the chat box. No, okay. So Messi, your hand is raised again. Do you have a question?
Yes, please.
Go
Like
ahead.
to what you were saying about like opening a new page. So if we are to style like CSS, we should always use style.css. Is that what you mean?
So you if you are going to, like now, I have an about us right here. I have about us right here. If I am going to style my about us, I can decide to style my about us inside this style.css. But to reduce the number of lines of code, I might just want to be like, okay, my about us page, I'm going to create another style for it and call it about dot CSS. That's going to be my CSS page for my about us page. I don't know if you understand.
So like for this about us dot CSS, that's
Yeah.
like it's specifying about us. Is that what you mean?
Yes. Yes. Every style I'm going to be writing here is going to be specifically for the about us.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome. So don't worry. Along the line, we will build a multi-page website where I would explain this in details. So we are still going to get there. Yeah. So thank you very much, guys, for today's class. I don't know if there's still any other question, so I can answer them. And all. So before I begin to answer technical questions like relating to your tasks, so yeah, Victor, go ahead.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, yeah. Concerning the second task here, I didn't register late, but I got to know about the class late. That class has started. That was like last week. So I was able to do the first task, but the second task, I got it yesterday. Like I got to know about the second task yesterday, and it has expired. I need a
Tommy, before I start
the
answering question about your tasks, let me just end the recording. So thank you very much, guys, and I will see you in the next class. Bye.